What's up, you guys? Welcome to another edition of SEC Talk with your hosts, Holden and Cody. Hope everybody's doing good this evening. Cody, it's another week of it. We are in the final week before we get to championship weekend coming up next weekend. How you feeling? You excited? It's kind of sad that the season's kind of flown on by, but at the same time, it's also kind of exciting that when you do get to the end, once you get to this kind of playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is the way this year's gone, you get a couple more games after the season. So at least you get another 2 weeks of football before you get to the playoffs. But you do get championship games next week. I know I saw where the ACC changed the 2 games for Clemson and Notre Dame to give them the bye week this week, to give them a week off before the championship game. And there's some big news, I guess you want to call it big news, coming to the SEC that everybody thought that was what the announcement was going to be, but Greg Sansky, the commissioner for the SEC, came out, 2-3 hours ago?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Was it 8 o'clock? 2 hours ago.
Yeah, I guess technically it was 6 o'clock, so it's been about almost 4 hours now. Time we're recording this. Obviously, most of you guys that are listening are listening either Friday or Saturday or Sunday, whenever. So by now you'd have known about it.
Yeah, if you haven't heard yet, the SEC has a 10-year deal with ESPN that won't start until 2024, because that's when the contract with the CBS runs out. So SEC will no longer be on CBS come 2024. It's going to be on strictly ABC and ESPN and ESPN Plus.
Yep. And obviously the SEC network, but it is some wild news. One thing before we jump too hard into the news, y'all follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SEC Talk 20. We'll jump into the news, obviously talking a little bit more about that. Yes, it's going to be different. You know, I've played throughout this season some of those 3:30 kicks on the CBS network. You know, it's got its own music. It's got that exciting feel that you know, hey, it's an SEC game on CBS at 3:30. And that won't be any longer. Not when that contract comes in. Obviously, like you said, until 2024. It's going to be different seeing.
There's one good thing about this.
Yeah, it will be different seeing some SEC games on ABC. It's going to be kind of different for sure.
Well, I'm talking about the plus side of all of this. There'll be no more Gary Danielson.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't mind Brad Nessler. He's not an issue to me. Yeah, but old Gary, he just has those. He has more moments that are cringeworthy than they are, exciting.
But I think it's going to be one of those things too that, as much as everybody in the ACC hates to hear him, when it comes that time, we're going to miss him.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Part of it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's definitely part of it. You're going to get a new crew in there, and it's going to be different. It's also going to be, I think, another thing that one thing to kind of look at, like, being in Georgia. I mean, I watch Georgia all the time, and the greatest, largest outdoor cocktail party, that Georgia-Florida game, is almost always 3:30 CBS Network in Jacksonville. Well, ABC comes in. Who knows? This could be affiliated to be on at lunchtime, or could you have a night game in Jacksonville? I doubt that since 2002, but I don't know. You just never know. Some things may change. It's going to be a lot different also than the SEC championship game. That is going to be on ESPN now. So, which I don't know. I feel like it's always been on the SEC network, and it may still be on the SEC network at the same time as being on ESPN. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I guess this year it could be different because at the same time that you have the SEC championship game, you still have games going on in the SEC. That's going to be so strange next weekend. But also cool because
we're seeing everybody else playing. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. What game we're watching?
Yeah. No, that's for sure. One of the other pieces of news out of LSU and the SEC is they have come out and they've gotten a lot of criticism, and a lot of people are kind of laughing back and forth with LSU that they have self-imposed a 1-year bowl ban for this season, so they won't be playing in the bowl game this season again. That's self-imposed. There's a lot of stuff again that's going on up there.
Look,
go ahead.
Here's my thing with LSU and the whole bowl ban for 2020. They have a losing record to begin with.
Yeah.
So if you do go to a bowl, it ain't going to be a major bowl, like, at all. It's not going to be a New Year's Six bowl. I mean, you're too far in the rankings. You're too far ranking schedule. They should have done it for next year. If you want to actually penalize yourself, do it next year. Don't do it a year when you're bad.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, it's actually
a crappy year this year.
In part, it's kind of smart by them, just because instead of playing in the Dollar General Toilet Bowl,
it is.
They're not having to play in a bowl at all, so they just end the season and be done with it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I look at this too. Say, you got all these accusations coming out about some of the women there at LSU University. You've had your football team just crap the bed this year. They're just falling off the wagon. I think they're down to one tire at this point. You're already hurting this year. You already got in trouble with Odell Beckham. Y'all banned him from 2 years. You've already took your cut against recruiting and visitations and all that, which is fine. But then you're going to sit and say, we're going to ban ourselves from the 2020 bowl season.
Mm-hmm.
Play the bowl for 2020. Even if it is a toilet bowl, play in it.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but again, if you're taking a because who's to say next year they're not 9-1, or I don't know how next season's going to be if it's back to 12 games. Who's to say they're not 10-1 going into the the last game of the season, or 11-1? You would much rather take that bowl ban now, self-imposed, and you may still get a slap on the wrist next year, but you'd much rather take that bowl ban this year when it really doesn't matter, as opposed to next year when you could have something. Now, they've got a lot of people that have opted out, one, but two that are starting to transfer and enter that transfer portal, one of which is that Arik Gilbert. I don't think it's official that he's in the transfer portal, but there's a lot of communication going on that he's wanting to go back home because he is from Marietta, Georgia. So something to keep an eye on there. LSU goes from at the top to almost at the bottom.
They went from the penthouse to the poorhouse in a year. That's the quickest fall of a championship team I think we've ever seen. But, I mean, who's not to say that, during the SEC is going to do an investigation on the accusations from previous players and coaching and all that. So there's going to be an investigation during offseason on LSU anyways. If they do find something, they can make it even worse than just a 1-year little bowl ban. They can do you like they did, I think it was Mississippi State, like a 5-year bowl ban.
Mm-hmm.
Recruit ban. Just say, you go ahead and say, look, we're going to ban ourselves for next year.
Yeah.
Take that cut. Because you have more issues in-house that you need to focus on than just winning a bowl game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I mean, I understand what you're saying about this year. Get out of the season as quick as you can, but next year you still need to focus on the in-house and getting that situated and cleaned out.
Oh yeah, that all
because
needs to really
trash and garbage.
Oh yeah, that all needs to be taken care of ASAP for sure. But let's not spend too much time on it, and we're gonna touch real quick on something outside of the SEC, unless you have anything left on the inside of the SEC before we jump out real quick.
The only other thing I had was KJ Britt for Auburn has declared for the draft.
Man, that's seems soon. Yeah. At this point, I've read something that somebody else said, and it actually makes a lot of sense. At this point of the season, you're no longer opting out; you're just quitting. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
You're not opting out with a game left in the season. Yeah. The season's over. You're not opting out. You're just quitting, and you're done with this season. That's all there is to it. And I hate to be that way, but that's just my opinion.
What they're doing was too. I mentioned, with it this year, like it was, the NCAA did say they're going to give another year of eligibility to the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing this year; they can come back one more year. That will be interesting to watch and to see who takes that.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
it'd be weird to see some 6-year seniors running around.
Season. It'd be the first time ever you have a 6-year senior.
Yeah, it's kind of like Kellen Mond. I'm fairly certain he's already been there for 8 years. So what's another year? But
that's like old. Who was it? There's somebody else.
I always think of Hunter Renfro there at Clemson. He was there for at least 10 years. I mean, he had a receding hairline like he was 40. So I shouldn't say that. I'm losing hair too, and I'm young. But anyway, well, let's jump outside of the SEC real quick. We're going to touch on this just a little bit, and we're not going to dive into the college football playoff talk almost at all in this show, just because if we do, we're going to spend, just like we did last time, we're going to spend 30 minutes on it. I want to keep this one simple. We might start to dive into it Sunday, but I really want to save that for the following Sunday when we know, all right, listen, this is who's in, this is who is playing, now let's talk about it. This is the controversy, though. Before we get there, sorry, go ahead, what you got real quick?
I was just going to say, you'll get your Final Four on that following Sunday.
Yeah.
Or on that following Tuesday. So we'll probably do a special episode on that Tuesday.
Well, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it Sunday. It's you got play. Yeah, you got the conference championships the 19th that Saturday, right. And then Sunday is going to be the selection committee on the 20th. Which, let's see, I can actually pull that up for you guys. I'm gonna blank out the top 10 because I'm fairly certain I did not update it since this last, which we'll get to. But boom, there it is. So Sunday, yeah. Sunday the 20th, that'll be selection day. So something to watch on it. But anyways, let me catch into that real quick, and that is the controversy out of the Big Ten. The Big Ten has came out and they have decided to, and the only thing I don't like about this is it's the middle of the season. If you were going to set rules, they should have been set at the beginning of the season. And Big Ten came out, their rule was that you have to have played or either won, I don't know exactly what it is, 6 games in a season to be able to play for the play 6 games. Okay, so you're supposed to play at least 6 games to be qualified to play in the Big Ten championship. Ohio State has only played 5. Their game this weekend with Michigan was canceled, so they're not going to be able to play 6 games by next weekend. And this is all the Big Ten's fault unfortunately, it's none of the players, it's none of the team's fault. It is the commissioner of the Big Ten who decided to wait the game out. And I understand, listen, I'm all for safety and health, but they saw with some of the lower conferences, like in the Sun Belt that started on time, the delay of the ACC, Big 12, and the SEC, that all decided to wait, but still started to play. And, I mean, I feel really bad for the Pac-12 because who's to say USC doesn't turn out to be really good this year? Well, guess what? They're only going to have like 4 games played before they select teams. So they'll never have a chance to get in. But Ohio State, in the middle of the season, has decided, well, let's change that rule to let Ohio State go and play Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game.
You mean the Big Ten?
What was I saying?
You said Ohio State changed the rule.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, the Big Ten changed the rule for Ohio State to be able to allow them to go in. Now, the unfortunate thing is really for Indiana. You know, they're set there to go. The only team that Indiana did lose to was Ohio State. So, I mean, rightfully so that this is the bad part about it is I do think Ohio State is one of the best teams in the country this year. The downfall of it is, though, they've only played 5 games, whereas you look at like Alabama, they've played 9 games. Florida, they've played 9 games. Look at, I mean, everybody for the most part.
Notre Dame's played 10.
Yeah,
Texas played 10.
They have got full schedules. They will have played 11 games by the time you get to
the games.
Yeah, so that's the thing that blows my mind is they have basically played a half a season. They're going to be allowed to now. Northwestern can throw not a kink in it, but Northwestern can throw every bit of it out the window if Northwestern was to come in and beat them. At that point, I think you have no choice but to have 2 ACC and 2 SEC teams in, unless Alabama just, I don't know. Again, we're not going to dive too deep into it. We got time, but I do think that if Ohio State was to lose to Northwestern, then that kind of changes things. But anyways, we're not going to talk too much about that. That's a little bit of a feeling about it. Just kind of strange that the Big Ten has decided, hey, let's change the rule in the middle of the season to benefit Ohio State. Again, it's not the team, it's not the players' fault. The commissioner of the Big Ten is, at the end of the day, that committee, a board, whatever it is, presidential suites of the Big Ten are the reason behind it. So
they talked to the coaches. They talked to the head coaches and the athletic directors. From what I was reading on ESPN, when they said the decision was based on a competitive analysis, which determined that Ohio State would have advanced the championship based on based on the head-to-head win over Indiana, an undefeated record.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Again, I still think that Ohio State is one of the best, but they just have it. To me, it's an advantage only playing half a season, whereas a team that's played all. Look, I mean, I hate to jump back to it, but take Georgia for instance. Before they get into that Florida game, half their team is injured. Half their team is injured.
Look at the first 5 games for every team in the country.
Yeah.
Georgia's the perfect example. Look at their first 5 games. Their first 5 games, they were SEC championship contenders, national championship contenders. Now, maybe a New Year's Six Bowl because of injuries.
Yep.
To me, I think if Ohio State gets in, the committee needs to really look at it and say they are one of the best, but at the same time, you can't compare their best win, because you compare a 5-0 Ohio State to a 7-1 Texas A&M, whose only loss came to an Alabama team at the first part of the season.
Yeah.
To me, honestly, I think A&M is a better team than Ohio State.
Yeah. And again,
if you're going to compare positional wise, Justin Fields is a better quarterback to me than Kellen Mond.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you compare overall team, A&M is a better, well-rounded team than Ohio State. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, they're 5-0." Well, yeah, they're 5-0. They play 5 games.
Yeah. And I do think
they didn't have no challenge in those 5 games. Their biggest challenge was Indiana.
Yeah, in that same comparison that you're making, Texas A&M's defense is also a lot better than Ohio State's. Ohio State's defense is not good at all. Their offense is potent, but their defense is not good. So, but again, we're going to try not to dive too deep in it. The last thing I'll say on it is exactly what you were saying. And I don't necessarily dislike Ohio State, because I do think that they are a good team. I do think they're one of the top programs in the country year after year after year for a reason. But
I think they're getting special treatment right now.
Yeah, no, they ain't no thinking about it. It's happening. But at the end of the day, I hate to say it. I really don't. But I just kind of hope that I'm kind of pulling for Northwestern in this. Maybe they can just pull the cord and beat them, and then we don't have to worry about the conversation at all. Then the conversation becomes, all right, do you let an undefeated Cincinnati jump up and play in this, or what? What's your deal there? Or are you just going to do 2 SECs and 2 ACCs? Again, let's not dive too deep into it, because if we start to dive more deeper than this, we're going to be in it for another hour, and we're going to save that. Yeah, we're going to save that.
We'll just say this for a special episode.
We're going to save that.
Since
all right.
Did talk about,
sorry, go ahead.
Since you brought Cincinnati up real quick, let's jump into the new top 25 that just came out.
Yeah, yeah. Run through it for us real quick. I'm gonna put it up on the screen for you guys now.
Here's the kicker about Cincinnati. Cincinnati is getting slapped around, and it's not fair to Cincinnati.
Mm-mm.
Your top 6 teams do not change. They stay the exact same they have been since they first met 2 weeks ago. Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State. We'll touch on that one later. A&M, Florida. Those teams have not changed. Now, 6, 7, and 8, or 7, 8, 9 have changed. They take a 8-2 Iowa State and put them over an 8-0 Cincinnati and a 6-2 Georgia. I Ohio State is not better than Georgia right now. Even with Georgia beat up as they are, Georgia's a better team than Ohio State by a long shot.
Iowa State, but yeah. But I know the reason that they're put up there.
That high with an 8-2 record, I have no idea.
I do know why.
Because I have not seen nothing in there that has impressed me.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, you're good. This is why Iowa State is up that high, because it's the Big 12, and the Big 12 wants somebody to be able to represent, and Iowa State is the team, because Iowa State, they beat Oklahoma. I know they're not going to, but they want to put them up there so that if everything in the top 5 or top 4 goes crazy, basically, if Notre Dame beats Clemson again, if Alabama beats Florida, if Ohio State was to fall, if somehow Texas A&M fell this weekend, then you get the opportunity to put in a Big 12. That's the only way you're going to get Iowa State in there in the Big 12 to be able to play, is if everything in that top 6 just falls apart.
If you put Iowa State against any of those top 6, it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, go ahead and run through the rest of the top 25 real quick so we can get into those.
Walk the floor with Iowa State.
Yeah, go ahead and run through the rest of the top 25 so we can get through it.
I just don't understand it. So you got Cincinnati 8, Georgia 9th. Those two bump down. I still don't understand why.
Probably will play each other in like the Cotton Bowl and a New Year's Six Bowl, which would be a pretty good matchup.
Probably. Seeing you have Miami hasn't changed. 11 is Oklahoma. 12 is Indiana. And making a huge jump up again this week, swapping places, is Coastal Carolina. Definitely 13th after that big win over BYU. Northwestern, your other 16 record Big Ten team, sitting 14th. USC sitting 15th. Iowa sitting 16th. North Carolina sitting 17th. BYU jumping down to 18th. They just pretty much swapped Coastal Carolina and BYU. Louisiana Raging Cajuns jumping up 6 spots to 19th. 20th, you have Texas, who was not ranked last week. 21st is Colorado. 22nd is Oklahoma State, falling 7 spots. 23rd is NC State. 24th is Tulsa. And 25th is your other SEC team in Missouri. Missouri's making a little bit of a run here lately. It's kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, kind of jumping up at the end of the season. One thing in that top 25 I wanted to bring up, what we were talking about just a second ago, which is Iowa State. One of Iowa State's losses is to Louisiana, your Raging Cajuns, and that I think was like I don't know this 100%, but I'm fairly certain that loss was by like 17. I think Louisiana beat them up pretty good. But nonetheless, we'll jump into it. Like you were saying, Missouri is in that top 25 now. That is one of the top 25 matchups this weekend. One of only 3, I believe. And that's Georgia-Missouri, one of that 12 o'clock game. We'll run right on through our slate, and we're going to start at that 12 o'clock. We'll start actually with Alabama and Arkansas. Might as well go, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of lost it. We'll basically just go.
But it's still 12 o'clock.
Yeah, 12 o'clock for sure. But we'll go through alphabetical order is the name I was looking for. Anyway, Alabama, Arkansas, ESPN, 12 o'clock. Again, this is going to be our 12 o'clock slates that we'll shoot through real quick. Alabama does come in as a 32-point favorite, and I'm a little curious about it. Again, as always, we're going to get to our picks like we always do every week, but I don't know. Arkansas, I think, should have won last weekend. Unfortunately, they didn't. I don't know. I don't think Arkansas is going to beat Alabama. I definitely don't think that. But I think Arkansas could make it tough. Me personally, I just don't think there's a team out there this year that's going to take Alabama down. Now, I think a Notre Dame can compete with them. I think Clemson can compete with them. I think Ohio State can compete with them. And Florida, I think they can compete with them. We'll get to see that next weekend. But I don't know that there's a team that's going to take Alabama down this year unless some kind of injuries happen on the offensive side of the ball for Alabama.
Worst things have been known to happen. So, but I think with the win last week over LSU, Alabama's definitely coming off really hot. I don't think they'll overlook it. Arkansas. We've seen it several times that teams, they kind of look ahead and preparing for ahead. And we've seen it several times with Nick Saban. He does not do that. He likes to tell them, he likes to focus on what's coming up So it'll be definitely interesting to see what they do and what adjustments they make for Sam Pittman and that Arkansas offense.
Yeah, I think the thing about this season with Arkansas, it's definitely been a shocking, surprising season for Arkansas because as it stands right now, Arkansas is what was it? Are they 3-5? No, they're 3-6, and they probably just me personally, I feel like they should probably be, like I don't know, 5-4.
They should be 5-5.
Yeah, I think they should be 5-4 at least right now, and probably end the season at 5-5. Shockingly, because none of us expected that to happen. But the thing about it is, they started the season strong, a lot stronger than we anticipated. Got better midway through the season, got even better, and then here at the end of the season, their defense that was so good in the beginning and middle of the season is starting to kind of ease back. Their defense is starting to give up a little bit more. And the offense it's moving. I'm not saying it's chugging along, but Felipe Franks was able to get things moving. And last weekend, Felipe Franks didn't even play, and the offense was still moving and still doing some things there. So the defense is the thing about Arkansas that's kind of changed to me. Is that defense was really good starting the season and middle of the season, got better, and it seems like it's kind of regressed a little bit here lately. In the past couple of weeks. Well, I guess it's been really a few weeks as we've had cancellations and things like that. But I don't know. I think if Arkansas's defense could show up again and the offense can be like it was last weekend, I don't think they're going to beat Alabama, but I think they'll at least play around with them and give them fits and positions and basically get Alabama prepped up for Florida next weekend that they'll take on. But let's jump right on down. Same thing, 12 o'clock. On the SEC Network, you do have that top 25 matchup now in number 9 Georgia taking on number 25 Missouri. In Missouri, that one's going to be again at 12 o'clock SEC Network. Georgia, 13-point favorite coming into this one. And Georgia hadn't been on the field in a while. Same thing last week. The Vandy game got canceled. That one got moved to the end of the season if they play at all. I don't know if Vandy's – I guess they're going to play this weekend. We'll see. Hadn't heard anything else out of it. They'll play Tennessee, which we'll get to in a minute. But I know Georgia's offense has finally started to come alive the past couple of weeks. So I'm kind of excited to see if that offense will continue to roll. I know they've had a little bit of adversity that they're facing there on defense, again with injury and stuff. They're starting to get some guys back too. Missouri's offense is not bad. Their defense has never been really bad, in my opinion. I think they've always had a pretty good defense. So this could be a good game there at 12 o'clock up in Columbia. That Georgia, if they come into it sleepwalking at that basically 11 o'clock kick, it's going to be, it can come back and hit them in the teeth. But I got a feeling Kirby's got those dogs ready to bite up there and see that offense just continue to progress, even though we're here at the end of the season.
Yeah, Georgia's, after they finally named JT starting quarterback finally, and he's actually got a few games in. I think he's going to be real good this year. Missouri, kind of a shocking team in the SEC. I don't think we really expect them to do a whole lot this year, but they made some improvements, and like you mentioned, they had some injuries there on defense that kind of slowed them up. But for a 5-3 year, that's not too bad, especially over there in the West and the East. But I'm sure they're going to make some adjustments on there. I think that game's going to be closer than we're thinking, just because of the injury that Georgia has on defense and the uncertainty on offense there a little bit with the running back and passing game. I know JT he looks like he's still kind of favoring those injuries a little bit, but hopefully this game will get him out of that and we can see what he can really do.
Yeah, look forward to seeing that one again, 12 o'clock SEC Network. Jumping on down, same channel there on the SEC Network at 4 o'clock following that Georgia-Mizzou game. You do have Tennessee and Vandy if Vandy decides to show up. Tennessee is 16-point favorite coming into this one. And this just kind of shows the unfortunate thing for the SEC East is the top of it, Florida, Georgia, and then you got middle, which, like you said, is surprisingly Missouri. The bottom of the SEC East is not good. Between Vandy, between Kentucky not being all that great this year, South Carolina being bad this year, and Tennessee not being all that great either. I think that's why that line's only at 16. I think if Tennessee was a team like they were in the past couple of years, I think that line's kind of like an Alabama-Arkansas line up there at 32. But Tennessee's not all that great this year, so that line's only 16. I think the question is going to be there, can they actually lock down and decide on the quarterback and put a guy in there, depend on him, stick with him, let him handle it. And the other side of that is if Vandy shows up, can Ken Seals play ball? Will he be there for offense? And maybe move the ball and try to make it a little bit tougher for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think the biggest question we have for Vandy, and then we're all wondering from Vandy, are they going to have enough players for this game? I know as of right now it's still scheduled. That is as of December 10th, the Thursday before. But, there's 2 more days till kickoff, and they're going to do some more tests. So hopefully Vandy will have enough players to play Tennessee. And I think this one's going to be another one of those interesting to watch. This is the battle of the bottom over there in the East. So it'll be fun to watch, I think, just to see, what Vandy does without a head coach now. They got an intern coach after they fired Derek Mason. So see what adjustments Vandy can make. They had a week off to kind of, for the intern coach to kind of get something figured out and wrap his head around. And we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that and see what adjustments they make.
Yeah, bad thing for him is he comes in and what does he have to do? Sit a week out. Not really do anything with the team.
I think it's the best thing for him.
Yeah, it might be, at least for rest for the other guys, and maybe him to kind of figure stuff out personally between them and any meetings that they are able to have. There's so many that they schedule those meetings trying to get everybody back together and end up having to cancel them just because the numbers either continue to rise or, you just have to quarantine so much. But jumping into one of the crossover games that was actually supposed to happen all the way back October 17th that was canceled, that has been rescheduled, and that is this weekend, ESPN, 7 o'clock. You got LSU traveling down to Gainesville to play the Florida Gators, the SEC East champions, as they get prepared to take on Alabama next weekend. Florida comes in 23-point favorite. After watching Alabama absolutely drum LSU last weekend, if Florida's offense can continue to be potent, I'm not going to say, I don't really like to compare one game to the other, but I do think that Florida needs to show up in a big way in this game to kind of at least prove, hey, Alabama, you need to keep in the back of your mind, we play next weekend, and I want to show you what we're about. If Florida comes in this one kind of sleepwalking, it shouldn't at 7 o'clock at night, but if they were to come into this one just kind of lackadaisically, really looking over LSU because they're not that great this season and don't play all that well, again, it may not make a difference in the game next weekend, but a lot of people are going to use this as a measuring stick, especially because Alabama drummed them last weekend. I do think that Florida's offense is good. LSU is, they've been working with a backup quarterback for a while. Their offense is kind of lackluster. Their defense is not good. The thing about Florida is their defense, to me, is not good. One difference in Florida and Alabama, again, we'll talk a lot more about it and ad nauseum next weekend, but Alabama's defense has progressed as the season has gone along, as well as their offense, which was already extremely potent. Florida's offense has done nothing but gotten better, but their defense still, to me, has not shown up at all this season. And that could come to bite them this weekend. I doubt that it does, but next weekend it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. Can that defense finally show up and I'm not saying they've got to dime anybody, but stop somebody. Keep LSU from scoring more than a touchdown. Keep them from scoring more than 10 in a game to prove, all right, our defense is at least starting to put something up, even if it is against a team like LSU.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how to follow up all that because you kind of covered the whole game and then some. Like you mentioned, though, I think people are going to measure this game with Florida and LSU like the game last week about Bama and LSU. But the difference here, like you mentioned, is defense. We know Florida's defense has struggled all year. Sometimes they shouldn't play good ball. Sometimes they just get lucky with that high-powered offense. And I will say that freshman at Florida, or at LSU, TJ Finley, can give the Florida defense some troubles. I mean, we've seen him run, pass. He can do it all. So we'll definitely get a better idea, I think, this week on how Florida's defense looks. They get up a lot of points or a lot of yardage this year. But their only plus side is that offense of theirs is so potent that they can go down, score quick, and just turn around. But this one's going to be one-sided for sure, but I don't know how big one-sided it's actually going to be.
Yeah.
Because I think, honestly, with Kyle Trask being there, he's going to show out. He has to show out in this game because the team you're facing in 2 weeks has 2 to 3 Heisman Talk candidates on that team, whereas there's only 2 on yours. You and that receiver, that tight end, and Kyle Pitts. You have a lot that you have to prove. In this game is for them to say, all right, look, this is what we can do. If I'm Kyle Trask, I'm riding my defense, saying y'all need to step up in this game. Because if y'all come in this game half lacking, just LSU, whatever, they're 3-5, they're struggling, nothing, da-da-da. If you come to this game and get soft, teams are going to see that.
Yeah, Cody dropped out there for a second. We'll have him back in here in just a minute. But I do. Sorry, go ahead.
Huh?
Sorry, you cut out there for a second, but you're good. Roll on with it.
Okay. If you come to this game just saying, it's whatever, we're just playing LSU, and you just bum around, and then you're like, oh, we're playing Bama this week, we got to get ready. It's too late. Use this game to prepare for the next one. That's what we did in baseball for City League. I know most people know what we're talking about, but I know you do. Every team we played was for the team we're playing next.
Yeah,
to improve on ourselves.
Yeah.
Not just
you're taking it. Yeah, you're taking it one game at a time, but you're playing this week just like you want to be playing next week, which is you want to be playing good every week, even though you're not focused on the next team. You're focused on the team you're playing, but you want that team that you're going to play next to understand that the team that played the week before is who you got to deal with this week. So I get what you're saying. Let's rock on forward. Go ahead, sorry.
I think the best thing we ever had, I know the best thing we ever had was playing in a tournament down in Troy. And little town, small group of guys come in there. And all talk is, there ain't nobody. They're just a bunch of river boys. They don't know how to play baseball, blah, blah, blah. We come here and dime one of the best teams in the area, 16-6. And that got people talking. They're like, oh, crap.
Mm-hmm.
We caught people off guard.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can do. Just because Florida's top of the East doesn't mean you can't catch people sleeping.
Yeah.
So, a lot to look forward to, but nonetheless, I think we can go ahead and jump down to that last game of the night. There was supposed to be one more, Ole Miss and Texas A&M, but that got postponed due to Ole Miss's rise in coronavirus. So that game has been postponed. But the last game you're going to get to on Saturday night is Auburn and Mississippi State at 7:30 on the SEC Network. This game to me is do or die for Gus Malzahn. He has to prove in this game they can compete and they can beat teams. What are you doing? His video's lagging. I couldn't see it. But I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about Gus Malzahn, and it's do or die for him.
He has to prove in this game that he can coach you. Yeah, it's do or die. Because you have not proved a whole lot in the last couple weeks, and your seat's getting really warm, I believe. You have to come in and beat first-year coach Mike Leach. Even if it's a close game, I still think there's going to be more talk about him getting let go. Just for the simple fact that he has not made the improvements that we would like to see. He's having an average year. When you say 5-4 or 5 or 6-4 is good, or that's a good year for you, that's not good. Yeah. When you will settle for that kind of record, when you know two of your games that you had, or one of your games for sure, or yeah, two of them, you got lucky with the referees, and we all know the games I'm referring to, or at least one of the games I'm referring to. Technically, you shouldn't be 5-4. You should be 4-5. Probably not even 4-5. There's a lot of issues there in Auburn that he has to adjust and he needs to fix quick. Bo Nix is a great quarterback. Tank Bigsby, I know he has some injuries he's dealing with. Seth Williams, I don't know what happened with Alabama and LSU, or the Alabama game. He just looked off. The whole offense looked off. And they need to make these adjustments for Mississippi State. Do not overlook those Bulldogs in Mississippi State. Because I'll tell you, Will Rogers, coming in as a true freshman, is looking pretty decent. He can throw the ball. I mean, you look at his yards compared to Bo Nix playing all season. Bo Nix has thrown 283 passes, completed 174 of them for 1,900 yards, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Will Rogers, who has played in a lot of games, has thrown for 229 passes, completed 169 of them, thrown for 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. I'm really saying watch this game. I got to pick one way, but I think it could go another.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I know I've talked to you a little bit about it earlier this week. That I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it matters if Gus Malzahn wins this game or not. I think at the end of this season, I think the Gus bus will be leaving Auburn. Where it heads next, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where that train goes following that. But I do think the Gus bus is headed out. Like you said, Will Rogers, to me, the way that Mississippi State has played these last 2 weeks, they opened the season, they droned the defending national champions, and then they just splat for the rest of pretty much for the middle of the season. And then they come back at the end of the season, start to get some life, start to believe and buy into Mike Leach's program that he's trying to build there at Mississippi State, which is much different than what it's been. Coming from Wazoo up there and trying to implement that in the SEC can be tough. But he's I think slowly starting to get in. And Will like you said, Will Rogers to me looks really good there at quarterback. He kind of still in that maroon and white. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Johnny Manziel back there. Obviously Mississippi State, not A&M, but
younger Manziel.
Well, Manziel was a freshman when he won it, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I think that Mississippi State. We'll get to the picks. It's coming up, but Mississippi State has been playing really good ball. They only lost to Georgia by a touchdown. They should have beaten Ole Miss, but they lost to them by a touchdown, which is bad when you lose to a top 10 team by a touchdown, then you turn around and lose to a team like Ole Miss by the same, which is more, I guess. I guess that's really just bad on Georgia's part as far as that goes, as opposed to Ole Miss. But Mississippi State, again, they've been playing pretty good ball here lately, so watch out. That one is also there in Mississippi State. That's in Starkville, so something to keep an eye on there at 7:30. Auburn coming in as a 6.5 point favorite. Let's jump right into it. Let's hit the picks of the week. I'm gonna get this pulled up that I wanted to get pulled up just a minute ago. There we go. Got it rolling for us. Picks of the week. Here we go. Cody. Sorry, let me put it on screen. Cody, you're 35-7 on the week. Do you have your picks there in front of you that you sent me earlier, or you want me to run through them? And I lost Cody. He'll probably hop back on here in just a second.
Alrighty, guys, I'm moving up to the pitch real quick. We'll go back and forth on one instead of.
All right.
Or you want to go through all of.
No, you do. That's fine. We can go back and forth. That sounds good to me.
Okay. So we'll start off first game of the night, or the first game of the day. That 12 o'clock slate with Alabama and Arkansas. I think even with the high-powered offense Alabama has and the way the defense is playing, they've gotten better each week. And I think this is just going to be another practice game for them to get better with. Make some adjustments they need to. So I really think this is going to be a blowout. 56-14 Bama. I just don't see Arkansas doing a lot of damage in this game.
Yeah. So the line, like I said earlier, it is 32. It's a big line. I don't know why I have this feeling. Now, it very well may go exactly like it did last week against LSU. That is definitely a possibility. But to me personally, I think Arkansas is better than LSU. I think they're a better football team than LSU is. Now, it hasn't been proven, but nonetheless, I feel like Arkansas wants to maybe put up a little bit of magic here at the end of the season. Don't know if it's going to happen again. I don't think they're going to win, but I'm going to give them. I'm going to allow them to cover the points here. So give me plus 32 with Arkansas. I think they keep it a little bit closer than it's kind of been in the past. I think it's going to. It may turn out to be kind of like the Florida-Tennessee game last weekend, not score-wise, but I think that number is going to have Alabama just above it. And I think either a late score by Arkansas or a late stop somehow by Arkansas against that potent offense of Alabama is going to keep it within that 32 range. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. I'm going to jump on down, same thing, lunchtime. The Georgia-Mizzou game. Georgia's a 13-point favorite. I really think that Georgia's offense rolls in this one. I think that they've had to sit at the house and not do much of anything for the past couple of weeks other than practice and really want to play. I really feel like Georgia comes into this one with the offense just fired up and ready to do something, and I think they light the scoreboard up. So give me Georgia laying the points there, 13 against Mizzou.
Yeah, this one I think is just going to be not really a big blowout. I think it's going to be kind of close. We've seen Georgia's defense struggle a little bit with some passing. Missouri's getting better each week. Bezat Bear for Missouri's looking really good. They're making some real good. Roundtree's looking real great. Definitely going to be testing that Georgia front. But nonetheless, I think Georgia, with having JT Daniels and Zamir White back there, kind of pushed his Bulldogs ahead and give them the win 31-24. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be closer than we're thinking just because of the struggle we've seen with Georgia's defense.
Yeah, very well possible. Go ahead and jump down to that Tennessee-Vandy game.
Yeah, Tennessee-Vandy, this is battle of the bottom for these two. Vandy to me, if they can get the players there and depending on how Kansas Hills play, it could be a good scoring game for Vandy, but nonetheless, I don't think it's going that way. I think Tennessee's going to be too much of the big brother. I guess you could say to them they're up there in the state of Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to pull something at 28-7. I think that offense for Tennessee has some changes that they can do. Jaron Pruitt definitely has some tricks up his sleeve that he can pull on Vandy.
Yeah, I'd like to see Vandy come in here and upset Tennessee in this one. I just don't see it happening. Tennessee does lay the points there at 16, and I'm going to take them. I really don't want to, but I just think that's the way it is. Vandy's just not good at all this year. Unfortunately, they hadn't really been that great in a few years. So give me Tennessee with that 16. Jumping down to Gainesville, LSU, and Florida. Got this line pretty high. I think Alabama-Arkansas game is also the same way as far as the over-under on that was 68.5. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take under 68.5. I know Florida's offense is potent, and if LSU got rolling, they can be too. But I can see this one ending like, I don't know, 42-10, 42-17 maybe. So I'm going to take that under 68.5 there for Florida.
Yeah, I'm somewhat right here with you as far as the Florida score goes, but LSU, I think TJ Finland and those guys they got something to prove. I mean, they just got demolished last week. This is a revenge game for them, not against Florida, but against themselves to prove, look, we can do this. There's a lot going on wrong, but we need to prove something. But nonetheless, playing in Gainesville, in the swamp, Florida's going to be too powerful on offense. Florida's going to win this one, but I think LSU gets a little bit more points than you're thinking. I'm going to go 42-24 Florida.
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
On down to the last game. What?
No, you're good.
Okay. Jumping down to the last game at 7:30 on the SEC Network is the matchup there between the Auburn Tigers and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. This one I'm torn on. I want to pick it one way, but I just think Bo Nix and Tate Bisbee, they finally get it. They finally settle down and play football. You know, he has a really good arm on him. Finds some tight windows. Seth Williams, whatever he had going on, he gets that situated. But I think it's going to be a struggle for Auburn. If they win this one, it's going to be closer than what we're thinking. I ain't looked at the other on that game. Auburn by 6.5. It's close to it. I got Auburn 35-28 on that one, so we'll definitely have to see what the Tigers can do.
Yeah, you're right on it. Like I said, 7-point game. They got the line at 6.5. It actually took me a while to find it because when I looked it up earlier, it actually wasn't showing up. Kind of strange there, but I did finally find it, 6.5. This is going to be the difference in it for me. I think Mississippi State covers that line at 6.5, so give me Mississippi State plus 6.5 in this one. Matter of fact, I think Mississippi State actually comes in and ends up beating Auburn in this one. Luckily, all I'm going to do is take the points with 6.5 on it in case they don't. But I actually do think that Mississippi State's liable to come in here and beat them. Just because if Will Rogers can play the game that he played like against Georgia, Auburn's defense isn't quite as stout as it's been in the past couple of years. And that and Auburn's offense is kind of lackluster. That's the thing as far as the hot seat goes for Gus Malzahn is he's got talent there, but it's just not producing. And I don't know if that's a Bo Nix issue. I don't know what it is because you've got the fastest man in football that's there at a wide receiver, and he's not doing much of anything. So we'll see how that one shakes out. I'd love for Auburn to win it just because I've got a lot of friends that are Auburn fans. My dad's even an Auburn fan, but nonetheless, I just feel like Mississippi State's in here to kind of stun some things and to make a pick a little bit different. So give me Mississippi State plus 6.5 in that one. I do have MadDawgs picks of the week. Did come in this week, so I'll pop them up for us. He's taking everybody covering laying the points here. Bama 32, Georgia 13, and Auburn 6.5. He's going to take them all with the points. He comes into this one 12-10 just because it was a little bit rougher week last week. I think he was 12-8 coming into it. Unfortunately, went 0-2 after the Georgia Vandy game was postponed. So that's how he looks on the weekend. Looks to improve everything that goes along with that. That's our picks of the week. Last thing that I really want to jump into is basically just some of the top games outside of the SEC real quick, just to keep it quick and simple for us. Let's see. Hopefully my page is not freezing because it's acting like it is. There we go. Sorry. Took it a minute to finally jump over. Top games around the country outside of the SEC. Cody, you got any that you want to mention real quick?
I can find some that are actually playing.
One of the other top 25 matchups that's going on is at 3:30 on ABC. That's number 17, North Carolina, traveling down to number 10, Miami. That one will be at Hard Rock. Miami is a 3-point favorite. I think North Carolina can actually come in and upset them here. We'll see. I feel like I hadn't seen Miami play in like 4 months.
Yeah, that's how it seems. Another game that's real big, too, to kind of watch. The Navy-Army game.
Oh, yeah.
Army is a 7-point favorite in that one. That one being played at 3 o'clock on CBS. That's always a fun one to watch. Kind of get a kick out of watching the boys play. Yeah,
this is going to be the first year, I think, that they're actually going to have to share the day with a bunch of other teams because normally they play as a standalone game on a weekend. But unfortunately, a lot of teams will be playing this week. And I think this game is actually what did they say? Did they say this game is actually a home game for Army? It'll be played where Army plays.
It's the first.
They're treating it as a neutral field, but it's going to be the first time that it's actually there at Army's home stadium.
That says it's the first time they played at West Point Field.
That's it, West Point.
World War II.
Yeah. Yep. And I heard another thing that they asked, well, are y'all going to return the favor and go to Navy next year? And they said nope. They're actually going, I think, somewhere else to play next year. But nonetheless, wow. Let's see, a couple of other maybe top ones. USC, UCLA. That one could be a fun one on ABC at 7:30. USC only a 2.5-point favorite traveling to Pasadena, playing in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. San Diego State, don't think they're going to give BYU much trouble. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's not a lot of big games because we've had quite a few that got canceled, obviously. One of the big ones we were looking forward to was Michigan-Ohio State. But one lucky thing for Harbaugh, he doesn't have to worry about losing to Ohio State this season.
Look, he needs to be gone.
It's gonna.
I'm just gonna say it.
It's very
Jim
well
Harbaugh
possible
needs
that
to
it
be
happens. It's very well possible that it happens.
But,
the only other one that was supposed to be top 25 was supposed to be number 8, Cincinnati taking on number 24, Tulsa. That one was also canceled. So that's the top games that I've got at least around the
I
country.
actually had somebody message me a question for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be to us and to the listeners to get your opinion on it. Do you think Alabama is overrated?
Nope. This season? Absolutely not. Alabama is exactly what I thought. The only difference was, and you and I looking at our sheet preseason, we both had Georgia and Alabama playing in the SEC championship game. We both had Georgia losing to Alabama in the regular season, and we both had Georgia winning the SEC championship, moving on to the playoff with the possibility of Alabama getting in, maybe not. But Alabama is a good team. Now, the surprising thing to me is just how well Mac Jones has played. Now, granted, he's got some of the best wide receivers in the country right there next to him, and Najee Harris behind him. That makes it a whole team offensively. Now, defensively, they, again, have started to get better, but no, they're not overrated at all. They should and are the number one team in the country for a reason, and I got a feeling by the time we get to, let's see, January 1st is the semifinal. By the time we get to the end of the night of Monday, January 11th, I think we're all going to see why Alabama was ranked number one coming into this playoff poll. I've got a feeling they'll be the first team to be, not preseason, but I've got a feeling they're going to be that first team to come in as the number one team in that, what do they call it, the first release of the playoff rankings. No team that has been ranked first in that initial ranking has held it and been able to win the national championship. I think that changes this year.
Yeah, I don't think they're overrated. I think the biggest thing is it's not that they're overrated, but I think some people are just
hyping them.
Yeah, they're overhyping them a little bit, but at the same time, I think you got to look at it that if you compare these teams to other teams, you compare them to Clemson, compare them to Notre Dame, you can't do that.
Yeah.
They're playing different teams, different caliber of opponents, and the way this year's going, you cannot predict how these teams are going to play.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed Ole Miss would have took Alabama so far in a high-scoring game?
Yeah, and then they turned out to be like 2 and 6.
Yeah, and then who would have thought that LSU would just fell off the wagon or rolling on one spare tire and 4 flats on the interstate?
Yeah.
Like, this season is so weird, and I think just because of the changes that have happened as the season has progressed, between the firing head coaches and information being leaked from colleges about some issues and just everything going on, you couldn't predict this way to go like it is. And even like it is, I think Bama is just Bama. That's the best way to put it. Bama's just Bama.
I'm going to tell you, the team that really surprised me this year, though, is Notre Dame. Because in the past, I've given them kind of a hard time because they get in the big game and they just flub it. Or they play a team that they should beat and they lose. Or they play a team that is competitive and they lose. A lot of that is kind of repetitive at the end. But this year, and everybody's going to say, oh, well, Trevor Lawrence wasn't there. Trevor Lawrence's backup quarterback put up over 400 yards passing in that game. Whether you had Trevor Lawrence or not, it did not matter. Now, it may very well matter in this game because he wasn't the only person missing in that game. It may very well matter this next time they play. But Notre Dame they came into the game. They could have lost it, but guess what? They didn't. They actually won it. So they are actually the team that is and has been the most surprising to me preseason, considering just how they always are. So that's not necessarily a question, but it's another.
That's a little tag on to it.
Yeah.
But I think with them beating Clemson in the regular season, that gives them that boost of confidence that, look, we can take them. They're going to come into that championship game against Clemson with a head of steam saying, we had y'all the first round, we're not going overtime next time.
Yeah.
The defense for Notre Dame is dangerous.
Yeah, they're real. It's a real deal. It would be kind of exciting if they did come in and they beat Clemson again to really just make everybody be quiet. Now, will it happen? Again, I don't know. It's yet to be seen. We'll see. But they're the surprising team to me. But
yeah, they're definitely the under radar team that I would never thought of seeing they're sitting number 2 in the championship in the college playoff.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Well, you got anything on it before we shut this thing down?
I think that's it, man. Another fun episode in the books. Like always, guys, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SEC Talk 20. You can email us at sctalk20@gmail.com. If you do have any questions or comments or just want to talk to us, we'd be more than welcome to write you back. Do want to give a shout out to our overseas listeners. We've noticed are climbing them, so definitely give a shout out to y'all. We appreciate y'all listening. Let us know where y'all are from. Get up with us, hit us up on social media pages, kind of interact with us a little bit. We want to get to know some of our listeners. Besides that, man, and always the guys support us. We do have that link attached to the bottom of our descriptions that you can help support our show so we can make good and better episodes for y'all compared to the first ones we did. So besides that, man, I think that pretty much wraps it up unless you got anything else to add.
No, that was it. You pretty much wrapped perfectly there at the end. So it's awesome for me because I don't have to add anything to it or say or do anything. So it works out good. Like he said, I appreciate you guys listening, and we'll check in on you guys on Sunday where we will catch you up on the latest games that just came through. So outside of that, we out.